This is my review of Samurai Flamenco. Okay, so if you haven't heard of Samurai Flamenco, it was this anime that came out in 2013, and it's a really good superhero anime that's kind of about what it means to be a hero, and it's also pays homage to a bunch of other different superhero properties like Kamen Rider and that kind of thing. And it also takes place in real world Japan, and it also kind of explains, I don't know, it kind of deconstructs superhero genres so that you can understand them better, while at the same time reconstructing them in a way that's unique to its writing. Although it doesn't really have a traditional plot structure that'll come into play later. So it starts off with a scene from later in the episode. So it introduces Hidenori Goto, a beat cop who kind of is just going about his day-to-day life, and throughout his day-to-day life, he sees some injustices that go on in the world that really don't go unpunished, that because that's not really his job. It's like just minor misdemeanors and things like that, but it's like these little things that nobody would pay attention to, but they come into being a little bit later, and they become important later. So toward the end of his day, while he's walking around at night, he comes across a kid who is naked and confronts him, most likely due to indecent exposure, and the kid proclaims himself to be a superhero. Goto, being a cop, tries to arrest him until he accidentally sets the kid's costume on fire and realizes, well, maybe he actually is trying to be a hero of some sort or something, or at the very least realizes that there is some merit to his claim, helps him put out his costume, and then escorts him home, and finds out that the kid, named Azama Masayoshi, our main protagonist of the series, is actually a male model who lives alone and has an affinity for superheroes, as we've already established. So as he points out, he's trying to make the world a better place by basically picking apart little injustices here or there that are intended to be like this, that aren't really that big a deal, but he realizes that if things continue to be the way they are, that they'll eventually snowball and get a lot worse, and then people will never improve, so society will never improve, and that's basically what he's fighting. He's fighting basically these little small things that most people wouldn't notice or harp over, but could lead to a life of crime if left unchecked and all that good stuff. So he's trying to prevent misdemeanors from happening so that people don't wind up doing bad things later in life. So Goto kind of lectures him a little bit, pointing out that he shouldn't really harp on that kind of stuff, and pointing out that if he continues to harp on that kind of stuff, that he's going to be laughed at and mocked at. And Masayoshi then reveals that yes, he knows that, and he knows that superheroes aren't real, but he also points out that he wanted to be a hero and wants to help people so that way they can help themselves and be better people in general. And Goto, after realizing that he kind of was in a one-sided confrontation where the guy hit him and not the other way around, and realized that he was only indecent because his costume caught on fire, decides to let him off with a warning, but promises to never let him to not do it again. And surprise, he eventually does do it again, but that comes later in the episode. So what happens is they exchange numbers, and then the next day, Masayoshi thanks Goto for his advice and hands him his dry cleaning and invites him over to watch anime. And Goto is questioning whether he actually made an impression on Masayoshi. But then the next night after that, Masayoshi calls up Goto, telling him that he screwed up and that he told some middle schoolers to go home, and they didn't really take kindly to that and are now chasing after him with a lead pipe. So Goto tries to alleviate the situation by trying, and tells him that he's trying to find out what's going on, but Masayoshi just kind of hangs up after remembering a line from Harukawa Sunshine about what it means to be a hero, and remembers and realizes that if he runs away, nothing changes, and that he shouldn't be afraid of confronting them head on, and should be more afraid of what would happen if he doesn't confront them. So he eventually hangs up and confronts them, and true to form, he gets his ass kicked. But he points out, after getting one hell of a beating from the kids, that the main reason he's doing what he's doing is that he doesn't want them to wind up feeling like society doesn't care about them, and he wants them to try and grow and be better people, and realizes that the best way to do that is for him to step in and intervene and tell them that if they want to be a nuisance, that they should go bother their parents because they have to care about them, and that everybody else just kind of doesn't want to be bothered and doesn't want to get involved. And one of the kids thanks him by kicking him in the stomach. After which Goto shows up and saves his ass, and all of the kids flee except for one who hesitates. He becomes important much later in the story, but he is important. But anyway, after saving Masayoshi, Goto asks why he didn't have his phone on him, and Masayoshi points out that the spare costume he's wearing doesn't exactly have the best pockets. So overall, this episode sets up the tone, or at least the tone for the next couple of episodes, and kind of for the rest of the series, about how, yes, Masayoshi realizes that he can be a hero, but he's also starting to learn how to be a hero, and it's going to be him learning how to become a hero over the next couple episodes. And this show is really interesting because it does start off with this really interesting take on being a real world superhero. And I do enjoy that, because most superheroes have superpowers and supervillains who they actually fight. But in this series, that doesn't really happen until much later. So instead Masayoshi is focusing on actually fighting small crimes and not going after big fish and frying them. So the show is kind of different in that regard, because it takes the standard idea of superheroes with superpowers and takes that away and puts the superhero in a real world, and what you're left with is a guy who's trying to do the right thing in a society where nobody really appreciates it all that much. But slight spoilers, people do eventually come around to the idea, because the video kind of went online and kind of started to go viral. So his speech kind of went viral online because one of the kids was filming it, and it does eventually become viral, and people do start to appreciate who he is and what he stands for. So the series is different. So the series is definitely different from standard superhero shows, at least for right now. It does, as I said, it doesn't follow a typical plot structure, and it does go off the rails very quickly, shortly thereafter, after the past couple episodes. But it's a very interesting story, and I do like it. And it's one of my all-time favorite superhero stories, so I thought I would share it with you guys. And I will continue to review it in the coming weeks or so. So if you guys did indeed like this first review of Samurai Flamenco and are considering watching the show yourself, and if you have indeed seen Samurai Flamenco and do indeed like it, then either way, let me know in the comments or in my Discord server link in the description. But either way, what do you guys think? Are you going to check out the show? Did I convince you to check out the show? Or are you not? Or are you just gonna watch me kind of summarize what's going on in the show? But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon description below as well. Link in the description. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. That was odd. That boss was a pushover. That couldn't have been, could it? Oh, sorry, just thinking aloud. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's open that chest and get the toy legend.